Two commissioners on their way. They'll be here shortly, but we'll go ahead and get started. This is the commissioners' meeting of the Androscoggin County for March 16, 2022. Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Administrator, this flag could use a little cleaning.
And so it is Commissioner Michaels will be here shortly, and Commissioner Mason. Okay, let's take a look at the minutes from the last meeting. I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting, for a meeting dated March 2nd, 2022.
Okay.
Second, Roland.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? And presently, that is 5. Review and approval of all bills, part-time deputy payroll.
I make a motion to approve payroll manual warrants 2229J, 2209, 2210, 2211, and 2230.
Okay, that motion is made by Terry Kelly. A second?
Second, Lord.
Any questions about the bills or warrants? Okay, all those in favor? Maine County Commissioners Association, I don't think you had a meeting this week, this last 2 weeks, was there?
No.
Central Maine Workforce Board,
Nothing currently to share. Madam Chair.
and Treasurer's Report, and I think we have Treasurer's designee here. Are you
I'm
doing
not
that,
giving
or-
a report, no.
Okay, oh, okay,
I'm just here to
all
answer
right.
questions and write them down today.
The report is, again, pretty simple. We're at the beginning of the year. Most everything is under budget, including revenues, which normally happens at the beginning of the year. There are, a few things that are just minorly over. The jail has a couple of lines, but again, they're over halfway through their fiscal year, so. But overall, the budget and financial report is good.
Any questions about the Treasurer's Report?
Set.
And by Commissioner Plurd, and second by Terry Kelly. All those in favor? And let the record reflect that Commissioner Michael has arrived. So is that a 6-0? Can I change my 5 zeros to a 6-0? Thank you very much.
No charge.
Administrator's Report.
Hey, Roland's here.
Okay, just very quickly, I'll go through. I've been dealing with ARPA questions and reviews. I have to report that our computer network has been having major problems throughout the whole network, both on this side and the jail. Doug has been working nonstop to try and resolve it, including bringing in IT companies to try and isolate and remedy the problems. And he's going to be asking in future budgets and I may need to authorize him to do it before the managed service contract to help prevent these occurrences, because it's been 2.5 weeks now, and we've had a couple of companies that come in that really know their stuff, and they're going piece by piece, and so far it's not been resolved, but we're still working on it. Facilities Director Cody is getting quotes for upgrading the fire panels and the protection system, both in the courthouse and the jail, and we'll be bringing those to you for potential ARPA funding. I did preparation for and attended the Poland Selectmen meeting regarding the county tax with Commissioner Kelly. have been reviewing labor contract issues. I'm currently updating an RFP for the jail medical services that needs to go to bid shortly, and then normal employee issues, evaluations, and so on.
Computer problem, is it, we haven't been hacked, had we?
No.
No, so it's hardware or software or something?
There's a lot of switches involved, and I didn't realize we had all these switches here, there, and everywhere, and there's a whole, no, it's an internal.
Madam Chair. Could you elaborate on the meeting with the Poland Selectmen, how that went?
I'll say just a couple of things, and then Commissioner Kelly can give you more information. Overall, it was very cordial. I thought it went well. The only, they want to see the numbers that we took out of their expenditures and revenues for the police and school, because, that was the only thing, that was one of the things that concerned them. But as we walked through the budget, how we got there, and I took copies of the, what went for the public hearing and the budget committee, and also what I presented to the board after that. And they seemed pretty receptive and understood that. So, Commissioner Kelly, if you want to add.
Yeah, I feel as though when we left, they had a greater understanding of where those numbers came from and when we came in. I thank them very, heartily for coming to us with their concerns and let them know that, the lines of communication are always open. And Larry is going to put together, something that they can, bring forth to their to taxpayers of Poland so that they can more clearly understand, where the numbers come from. And for their town meeting, because that's on April 2nd. That was of, concern to them.
I just wanted to make sure we had addressed their
Yes,
concerns.
sure did. They seemed, pleased with the explanation.
I'm sure, like everybody else, they want it to be less.
Absolutely. But the
At least you explained it
Yeah.
better. And that's all,
Yeah.
an understanding. Very good. Thank you.
Commissioner Mason has arrived. 7. I guess we can talk about it more when down in ARPA funds, but I find you're getting quotes for the fire panel and protection system sort of in a direct opposite position of what we discussed at the last meeting, but we can discuss that more when it's on the agenda. Any other comments about the administrator's report? Okay, great, let's move on. Yes,
Did administrator give a report on the MCCA meeting?
was there, we thought that there wasn't, not one.
Actually,
okay, go right
yes,
ahead.
it was 2 weeks ago.
We can come back to that after these other people.
Actually, I think we're done with the, are you all, Mr. Post, are you, anything else on your report?
I don't have anything else, no.
Okay, we'll skip back up to yours, so because I may forget it if we try to put it off.
All right. Let's see, at the Maine County Commissioners Association meeting, they had a lot of discussions about the difficulties in hiring deputies. We've had those discussions here. The sheriff said we've been fairly lucky in being able to fill those positions. And by the way, the legislature, we expect, will adjourn on the 20th. There's some activity going on with the funding and all, and there's jockeying to see how much the state will be willing to put into the jail support. The tops will probably be 20%. Sheriff is probably more on top of that than the rest of us. LD 1950, the probate takeover legislation. As I reported last meeting, the association did speak against that. And it was a little unclear to me. I believe I heard that the governor may veto it anyway, so it sounded a little confusing to me, but we did speak against it. Hopefully not much comes from that. They're still talking about having a county convention. Most of the counties were interested in putting something together. It was a little tricky. The vendors don't want to come unless there's a good crowd, and the good crowd doesn't want to come unless there's interesting vendors to see. So we'll see if they can put all that together. State police are reducing their support of rural counties. Doesn't really affect us, just interesting. And it was also interesting that the Maine State Police have pretty much taken over the police academy, which then causes some turf problems in terms of the state police designing the training and all, and then the counties wanting to be involved and so on and so forth. Other than that, not too much.
Okay. All right, let's go down to number 7, comments from the public. Dave, let me know, is there anybody? Okay, we will move on to new business. With ARPA presentations, I'd like to recognize and welcome Elise from Safe Voices.
Do I present from here or?
Here, yeah. No.
Hanson, I'm the Executive Director of Safe Voices. We are the Domestic Violence and Human Sex Trafficking Resource Center serving Franklin, Oxford, and Androscoggin counties. So have you all read through this? Would it be helpful if you asked me questions? Do you want me to pretend you haven't read it and talk about it? What makes the most sense for you?
Assume we haven't read it.
Assume you haven't read it. Okay, lovely. So Safe Voices has been around for about 45 years. We in Androscoggin County had our largest outreach office in Lewiston, and we were previously on Main Street in a building for about a decade and a half, a little bit over. And we outgrew that space many, many, many years ago. And we knew that we wanted to, when we knew that we were going to be moving out of that space, we wanted to find a location that would really feel like a resource center. So when people walked through that door, when survivors walked through our doors, they knew exactly that they were in the right place, and that everything that they needed to access in order to hopefully be safe in the community that they call home would be in those doors, through those doors. And so we found a location at 100 Lisbon Street. We moved in there this past July. We started a close to $1.5 million capital campaign in order to renovate that building. It is 12,000 square feet. We are going to be there for decades and decades to come. And it is going to have, currently there is already, all of our advocates are working out of there. They're already serving and supporting survivors. Community partners are able to access the space. But as the building gets more and more renovated, we are going to have a program hub that will have survivor stations, which are just computer setups that allow survivors to come in and print evidence for when they have to go to court, which is across the street. They can apply for a job. They can maybe open up a bank account that the abuser is not aware of. There's also going to be space for support groups. We have a lot of support groups and a lot of attendance to our support groups. Even during COVID, people attended those via Zoom, which was pretty wonderful. But we want to get back in person, so we're going to have space to do that. We also will have a family lounge area. So a lot of times parents, the non-abusive parent will come. They will bring their children with them when they come and meet with one of our advocates. But they really shouldn't be sitting in the office listening to everything that the parent needs to share with our advocate. And so we wanted to have a space that was close to that office, but where the parent could still have eyes on their children. And so we'll have that space. We will also have a community kitchen. This work started 45 years ago around kitchen tables. It was neighbor sitting with neighbor talking about how to help keep you safe. And we're going to bring the kitchen table back. And so we're going to have a community kitchen there that will allow hopefully people from other community partners to come in and do their trainings and meet with survivors and kind of like be elbow to elbow in that kitchen space. We will also have, on the lower level of the building, we will have a training center. We do, in non-COVID times, up to 10,000 attendees go through our trainings every year for law enforcement, educators, local business owners, HR professionals, tons and tons of young people and students. And we are going to have a robust, really hopefully state-of-the-art training space that will allow us to do some even remote training to other parts of our catchment area. And then also, for those of you that work kind of in the Lewiston, Auburn downtown area, you probably notice that there's not a tremendous amount of places to meet for meetings that are larger than maybe 15 people. And so the training center, the way we're developing it is it will be able to be accessed by other community partners and affinity groups that want to meet anytime. It will be, you'll have like a little keypad that you can enter in, and there'll be 2 ADA bathrooms and a small kitchenette. So I'm hoping that people that want to host an AA meeting or an NA meeting and not have to pay for a space can use it in the evenings and be able to access it and leave it as they need. Local boards can use it, other organizations. Hopefully we can have, just activities, things for this building to really be utilized. And then the final piece is going to be the free boutique. So in our previous space, people had to come to our basement and our garage in order to access sheets and towels and diapers and clothes and all of the things that they don't have anymore because they fled or the abuser has destroyed. And they had to come to a basement and a garage to pick through things, and that's not how it should be. And so this free boutique is going to be set up like a Home Goods. People can, but it'll be free, and people can come in and take whatever they need. We have a tremendous community here in Androscoggin County where people want to donate gently used items for survivors to be able to have. And so now we'll have a really beautiful space here to be able to do that. And then another part of the building is a old freight elevator that we need to renovate so we can utilize it. So people with disabilities are able to get to all 3 floors of the building, and that we can also bring the items from the free boutique upstairs and into people's cars and trucks to take them to their new homes.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Elise about Safe Voices? Go ahead.
Where is 100 Lisbon?
Are you familiar with Rainbow Bicycle? Okay, so we're kind of catty corner from there. Do you know the building that used to be Norman Hanson in Detroit?
Yeah.
That's our building. So it's got wood, horizontal wood paneling. That's our building now. Yep.
Okay, all right. I read the whole thing, and I'm looking at your funding paragraph here. You say that, you're looking for 150, the project is over $1 million. You've already got 900,000, and then you're going to seek another 500,000.
Yep. So it's closer to 1.5.
Okay, that's what I was
Yes,
getting
yeah,
at.
that was.
So it's closer to 1.5.
It is. When we first had written a preliminary budget and decided to announce that we were doing a campaign, we thought it would be closer to $1 million. And then we quickly realized with construction costs and material costs going up by like 17%, and then we had not budgeted in a contingency. And so with those 2 things taken into account, it's closer to 1.5 million.
Okay. Now, there's a sentence that says, including this Upper County request, we are in the process of requesting 500,000 additional funds to cover the costs of the creation of the program hub.
The hub,
Is
yep.
the program hub part of that project?
It's the whole, so it's the whole project.
Okay. So when you start the sentence by including this ARPA request, are you,
We have other requests out there that would help fill this gap.
so are you saying in addition to this ARPA request rather than including?
So if we get the 150 from the county,
Yeah.
we're also requesting some from the city of Lewiston.
Yeah.
And then we also have some other requests that are out with major donors that we're waiting to hear back from.
Okay, all right.
Does that make sense? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
okay.
it's just the wording was a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Other questions? The timetable we're looking at to gather all the requests and consider them as April 15th.
Okay.
If that changes to a later date, which I don't, right now, I have not heard any requests to do that, we'll let you know.
Okay.
But I appreciate your presentation, and I assume your email's on here if they have any other questions.
It's probably not on here. It was in what I sent you, but I can
Okay.
leave my business card if that's, or I can give everyone my
would-
email address now.
Well, if it's in our, if it was in the original email, just so we have it if
Okay.
someone has some other
Yep,
questions.
I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Elise.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, Okay, next we'd like to hear from, or we're happy to hear from the Maine Community Integration. And we have Elizabeth and Fauci and Abdi. Did I get them right? I hope I did your name right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, hello, thank you for having us. My name is Elizabeth Haffey. I work with Maine Community Integration. Here I have Faucia Moose, who's the Executive Director, and Abdi Abdallah, who's the Assistant Director. So Maine Community Integration is here as the fiscal sponsor for the Barefoot Coalition. The Barefoot Coalition is Lewiston Auburn's immigrant-led health outreach coalition, consisting of Maine Community Integration, the Djibouti American Community Empowerment Project, and Lewiston Auburn Youth and Family Enrichment Services. So we're here today requesting $26,000 in technology and training to build the infrastructure of our health outreach coalition. A little bit of our track record of success. In 2021, the Barefoot Coalition provided critical on-the-ground health outreach for communities in Lewiston Auburn who were disproportionately affected by the pandemic. This included frontline, low-wage workers, especially Black workers and women. We serve immigrant, refugee, and American-born communities alike. We worked with the cities of Lewiston and Auburn to prioritize low-income housing complexes, and with 9 community health outreach workers, which are known as CHOWs, the Barefoot Coalition provided COVID education and supports to over 3,500 low-income households in Lewiston, Auburn. We were the only organization conducting door-to-door outreach throughout the pandemic. Our staff speak collectively English, Somali, Arabic, Swahili, and French. And our CHOWs, our community health outreach workers, have the lived experience of being immigrants, so they're uniquely positioned to address the cultural and linguistic needs of the populations that we serve. In 2021, the Barefoot Coalition hosted 6 vaccination clinics in Lewiston's immigrant neighborhoods, vaccinating 224 Somali-speaking adults and 14 Somali-speaking children. With ARPA funding, our coalition could double its efforts. ARPA funds would allow the coalition to grow its infrastructure to serve the long-term health interests of the immigrant and American-born residents of the greater Lewiston-Auburn area. ARPA funding would train 10 additional staff to become community health outreach workers, CHOWs, receiving certification through the MDC Public Health. At $580 per person, this core training includes managing cases, learning motivational interviewing, and the appropriate ways of conducting yourself during outreach. The organizations in the Barefoot Coalition are willing to incorporate the salary costs of those trained with the ARPA funds in our future budgets. And we are actively applying for private and public funding to continue our health outreach efforts. When working as community health outreach workers, Barefoot Coalition staff rely on paper to record outcomes when in the community. Time is wasted when the workers then come back to the office and painstakingly record each data point on one of 2 of our donated Chromebooks. ARPA funds would be used to purchase iPads. That would be 4 for each organization in the coalition to record CHOW findings in real time, including the client's demographic information, their household needs, and any referrals made. Funds would also provide laptops, 2 for each organization, and desktops, 2 per each organization, and would provide Microsoft Suite training for 14 coalition members. By providing basic technology and software training, the ARPA funds would double the capacity of the Barefoot Coalition's necessary health outreach work. The Barefoot Coalition will use our door-to-door outreach model for the pandemic as it continues, but we'll also use it for other public health concerns, including the opioid pandemic, lead poisoning prevention, radon poisoning prevention, and youth suicide prevention. The coalition intends to pursue public and private grants to sustain this work in the future. I'd like to direct you to page 3 of our application, to the box that says why we qualify for ARPA funds. Before going through that, I just wanted to mention that pages 3 and 4 go into more detail on our track record of success. We distributed 37,000 pieces of PPE in 2021, in addition to the 3,509 households that we provided COVID education and supports. We delivered groceries to 315 seniors and supplied 61 families with hygiene products, diapers, house cleaning items, rental assistance, and transportation vouchers. The application goes on to provide statistics on those who we serve and how they're disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, and also provide some background information on all of the organizations in the coalition. So I'd like to kind of sum this up by going over why we qualify for the ARPA funds. First, under the U.S. Treasury guidance, this project is an allowable use of ARPA funds because it responds to the COVID-19 public health emergency. Our community health outreach workers conduct COVID-19 mitigation and prevention, including vaccination programs to address vaccine hesitancy and provide healthcare outreach to underserved populations to facilitate access to services. Number 2, under ARPA guidance, the low-income households and populations we serve are presumed to be disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. And 3, capital expenditures on equipment are allowable under ARPA guidance, including those that help assist in the provision of services to address health disparities of those in disproportionately impacted household, population, or community. So our proposal to train 10 additional community health outreach workers will reach the disproportionately impacted populations in the community who may not otherwise receive health care or be vaccinated. And finally, the new equipment and training for our coalition members will build the capacity of our health outreach network for the pandemic as it continues and into the future with other public health outreach efforts. Thank you. Thank you. Questions?
That's a lot of words.
Yeah.
A lot into a few minutes. Did you have, anybody else have anything? Oh, you're, okay. Yeah, she
We all
did
came up
great,
with
yeah.
it. But, yeah. Actually, Faucia, did you want to tell them about the Healthy Androscoggin we just found out about? Yeah, just real quick.
I talk really fast.
So before COVID, I work at Healthy Androscoggin through the City of Lewiston HOT funding. And so it was my job under the HOT funding to do a tenant education for lead and radon, tobacco cessation and substance use for 222 units. And in 2017 and 2018, I completed with 198 units. So we used that experience and expertise when COVID hit to respond and use a lot of strength-based community collective effort to respond to the community, which were very successful at that. Thank you. I'm kind of really nervous, but it's okay.
You did just fine.
Recently, Healthy Androscoggin asked us to partner.
So in the City of Lewiston LED grant, we are sub-recipient with Healthy Androscoggin. We're on our second year of the grant. Our part as Healthy Maine community integration is to educate all new Mainer youth about lead. We currently work with 27 girls. Some of them are here tonight to support us, and of course, we could brag about, raising them. And we'll also hope to partner with the Auburn Lead HOT grant. We haven't heard from them, but we'll be a sub-recipient. So we do work very closely with Healthy Androscoggin with a lot of their programs, including the substance use, tobacco cessation, and lead.
Yeah, thank you all for your presentation. We appreciate it. My question is actually coming from something on page 6. One of the programs that you recently got approved for was to be a Narcan distributor. And I'm just curious, has there been an uptick in that for you? I'm curious how many doses that you've distributed, because, we're talking about COVID-19, but I think the real ongoing pandemic in Maine is opiate abuse. So I found that very striking.
Along there's an alarm increased rate of young immigrants who are using both prescription drugs and street drugs. Tobacco and alcohol is also extremely prevalent amongst adult immigrants. We also have seen during the COVID a lot of suicide attempt youth, some successfully on the other side. And there's a lot also suicide idealization, which the immigrant community, we don't address that. It's all shoved under the rug. But in As of today, we distribute 47 Narcans. About 15 of that went to the immigrant-led faith community, which Healthy in Muskegon, along with us, trained 7 church led by African immigrants, and 2 of the faith Islamic leaders all were trained during COVID-19. The faith community has seen a lot of parents who are confiding them that kids are struggling with substance use, and we are trying to work currently with the mayor of Lewiston, Tri-County, and a foundation called Maine Health Access Foundation to address that, to bring some culturally and linguistically appropriate recovery and also treatment centers to work with them at least. Because we don't, in the immigrant community, we don't acknowledge mental health. We have a lot of kids who are coming from historical trauma. There's a lot of vicarious trauma in the household. We're also seeing a lot of domestic violence and fathers who are drinking and also fathers who are absent.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate
Thank you.
it. And I actually need to step out to take care of something for the resolution later in the program, so I'm going to turn REST over to Vice Chair.
We invite the representative from REST, Recovery, Employment, Support, and Training, to speak. Hello. Nice to see you.
You too. My printer stopped working, but I have one of the proposals, and these, if you guys want them. I can email them over as well.
Okay, super.
So, my name is Tiana, and I am the Executive Director of the REST Center. REST stands for Recovery, Employment, Support, and Training. We are the Lewiston Auburn Recovery Center. So the mission of the REST Center is to provide a safe space for the Lewiston Auburn community. It is to provide peer and professional support as well as healthy social and recreational activities. We work with people in any form of recovery, substance use disorder, domestic violence, trafficking, from addictions and sex to overeating. We encompass all areas of recovery. We offer recovery supports, so we are connected with multiple different IOP programs, detoxes, housing. We work in employment with EMDC and Community Concepts. For supports, we run meetings out of our facility. We also do events, any kind of sober events for holidays, things of that nature. We also offer trainings. We do financial literacy classes. We work with MPRN, Maine Prisoner Reentry Network. So we're sort of like an all-encompassing resource center for anybody that needs help. It's a drop-in center, so we're open Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5, and we're pretty much exclusively run by volunteers. We offer recovery coaching, and we're working on getting in with both of the hospitals to offer them help with any type of peer-to-peer support or recovery coaching. So the REST Center is asking for $20,000 in ARPA funding for the REST Center and what is now REST Center Studios. We have a lot going on in the building, but part of recovery is people coming in to find their purpose. So what we do is we offer like through volunteering, they're able to build resources and references and experience, because we work with a lot of people newly in recovery and a lot of people who are like freshly out of incarceration. So yes, we are asking for this money for necessary updates in the center. Everything we have right now is donated. Everything, tables, chairs, Computers, I think the computers are so old, they won't even work like at all now. They won't be updated. So what we're asking for is money to help update the center, get necessary supplies that we need to be able to, you know, help people get access to the resources they need. We have a lot of different places that come into the center and sit with people. So to be able to create like a space that's like reasonable for that, instead of like, when someone walks in, we want to tell them they're worth more than broken chairs and, you know, beat up tables. And we need laptops for our volunteers. They're called resource brokers. So anybody can drop into the center, come in and sit with one of our volunteers and create a needs sheet. So everybody who comes into the center fills one out and basically just talks about, you know, what their needs are, what the number of importance is, how to set up SMART goals, where all the resources are, what we have access to. So they're able to broker out all the resources in Lewiston Auburn and really help them get connected to what they need. So we're asking for funding to help with the space and just get necessary supplies, laptops, and
My question here is like, exactly what would the 20,000 be for? Thank you so much. What would the 20,000 be for? And I've got the computer supplies, furnishings, is that? Okay, other questions? Yes, go ahead.
Tiana, under the specifications, is that what the money's also going to be used for here?
yes.
So, we don't, the others don't know that. What I would suggest is you send this document over to the administrator, and he will be able to email it to all of us.
Okay.
So that we'll be able to have a better grasp on what this is for.
I was hoping to print out a bunch of them, but I ran out of ink as I was.
That's all right.
But they need the 20 grand for
Yeah, if you,
printers.
yeah, that's,
Printer ink and a printer.
yeah, if you just scan one over and make sure to our treasurer is the one who makes the decisions of if it fits into ARPA funding and where it does, and we'll need her to have that info.
I just want to say that it was wonderful to be able to, you know, visit and tour your space, and you really do a lot with a little. So we recognize that, and, you know, thank you for coming this evening.
Yeah, I went also with John Michael, and there's a lot, you're a hands-on type of organization where people
Absolutely.
actually come in the door, and then you have to sort of refer them or help them out, and it's a valuable resource for the community. So we'll definitely look forward to the literature that you were unable to print there.
Go ahead.
Unfortunately, I'm not as familiar as the others with this. So what is your major support financially? I know it's a lot of volunteers and a lot of donations. That part I understood. But obviously, there's got to be some funding in there. And where have you gone for that in the past? And what kind of funding have you received?
Absolutely. So we're actually part of the Maine Recovery Hub, which is a blanket. It's blanketed under the DHHS opioid home health grant. So we are able to operate on a $50,000 a year grant through DHHS, through their opiate health initiative program. They have a bunch of names and acronyms. But essentially, we get state funding because we're a part of the Maine Recovery Hub. The goal is to have every county have a recovery center, so we're Androscoggin County's recovery center.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
And Tiana, you, except for COVID shutdowns, you've been around for about a couple of years, fairly new
Yes.
organization, doing stuff in Lewiston. And one thing that you said that I shared with Ed and Terry when they came by was that, and which I heard when I first met you guys in the restaurant, is that you want to teach people to fish, not give them fish.
Yeah.
And the idea is that to get people in the door, up and running, and back out the doors in a happier life anyway. And maybe you see them again, maybe you don't. But I like that attitude of, not necessarily the same people come back every day. That's a different category of charity or assistance that we might look at. But yours, I was impressed because it's empower people, genuinely empower people, strengthen them, and then they become more like themselves and can head back out.
Bring people back into the community. It's to, teach people how to do the things they don't necessarily know how to do through cycles of trauma, through cycles of addiction. One of the biggest things is, we see it a lot actually, is that anybody who's unhoused, they get them into an apartment, and that's great, but if you don't know how to live and you don't know how to maintain an apartment and you were never taught how to pay your bills, it's a really overwhelming, difficult space to be in. So what our goal is to empower people to know how to do those things in a space where they're not, judged for needing to learn.
Thank you very much, Tiana.
Thank you.
Yes.
Took a picture and scanned it. I'll send it to Larry so that you have it.
Being that he's,
I just
He's gonna take
scanned
care
it
of
on my phone, so I'll send it
Okay.
to you, Larry, and you can send it around.
The rest bubble's supposed to be blue, but.
Thank you.
into ARPA funding approvals. And the jail security system upgrade. And this was the item that I had brought up at the last meeting under future agenda items. So I guess Administrator took it a little different direction. You can go ahead and present that.
Currently, Dave and Jeff are working together and discussing that. We don't have an estimate yet, but it's probably going to be $400,000 to $500,000. That's the guess, but by the time they're done. So I think if you tentatively approve $500,000, that will certainly get us started. And we'll have more definite estimates in what, 2 weeks, 2 or 3?
We'll have an estimate from a detention designer. He's coming in a couple of weeks just to do a walkthrough to see what we have. And he'll give us a ballpark number. We still have to go to quote, but at least we'll have something to guide us.
Well, when I suggested to put this on the agenda for this week, and I thought I made it clear, what I wanted to do is to authorize the jail administrator to hire someone to come in, a professional that does these systems, that knows these systems, that could coordinate it for us, could work with him, evaluate it. I guess that went a little different direction. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Shute? Well, I think, but I don't know. I thought it was sounding like it was going to be more like $750,000. It's quite a bit less is what you're saying. And I guess I still like what I was going to propose is that we get somebody in that knows and deals, this is their area of expertise. And they've seen them fail, they've seen them succeed, they know all the different products out there, they know the different problems they've had, and bring them in to work with Mr. Shute. But I'm one, and this is a board, and so whatever you're happy with, we'll go with.
Well, Madam,
Go right ahead.
these big tickets items, sure, I'm a little frugal, but I'm also not frivolous. So there's one way of getting an estimate, and that is going out to a vendor, and the vendor says, oh, yeah, we can fix that, this is going to cost you so much money. Not necessarily bids on it, just a ballpark figure. Then there's what Commissioner Christner is suggesting, is we go out to a professional to evaluate what needs to be purchased or what needs to be built on. and make it good money spent on good results. And that's always what I'm looking forward to, is don't throw good money on bad stuff or stuff that is questionable or just pie in the sky, or when it's a ballpark figure of between 1 million and 15 million. You know, we need to do our homework, and I agree very much with Commissioner Christner's recommendation, and I would feel more comfortable if we get bona fide information in front of us to make an educated decision on even putting some money aside or spending money or saying no. And I've asked for this since I've been on this commission, and it's hard to come by.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Such
Commissioner
an
Michael?
expert would typically not be the person doing the work, right? That just, an
Correct.
advisor comes in, kind
It's
of
an-
like
it's a
Harriman comes in.
consultant. Yeah,
Harriman comes in and says, you
A
need this and this.
non-biased third party?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, an example, and I understand, David, that you're trying to get figures also for different things like, you know, the church next door. There's two other companies that do that, and we don't know. We only have the results of one company. So there's nothing to compare with. You need something to compare with if you're gonna make a decent decision. You know, you don't, that's all I have to say.
Mr. Poyer?
Madam Chair, regarding the ARPA funding approvals tonight, I don't see an accounting of where we are currently, and I think it would be a good time to take a pause, perhaps, reevaluate the items that we have already approved, find out what has been spent, I know we gave the district attorney some money. I would imagine that has now been finalized, and there's probably some money coming back from that. Love to know what happened with the town of Leeds concerning their application. So I think we need to have an accounting of just what we have. None of these things that if I understand this correctly, it needs to be decided this evening. And I would just like to pause so that we can get a better understanding of where we are, because you mentioned you're going out for bids concerning the health insurance, not the health insurance, excuse me, the healthcare or whatever. Medical,
Or-
yeah,
Starting next year, yes.
right. But I know we gave you money for that. I guess I would just like to get a reconcilement of what we've done to date, what's happening before we go forward. It seems like every 2 weeks we're being given, do this, do that. We're not looking at this in a whole, we're just looking at this in piecemeals without analyzing where we're going with all this and prioritizing. We seem to prioritize by the every other week meeting.
Comments? Do you have your hand up, or are you, okay?
Mike?
Forward with getting. That was gonna be,
Yeah, I
That was
would
good.
think so.
that was gonna
yeah.
be my question. So,
I don't,
I mean, do we need a motion to, I guess I would second what you were gonna say, Brian, like,
yeah, all that's happened on this is it was just mentioned to go on to future agenda items. That's all that's happened at this point,
So a motion
as far as
to,
the board.
you know,
Bring in an expert.
bring in an expert, a third party, or to seek other bids? What are we?
I had said I'd like on the next agenda for us to talk about it and talk about bringing on somebody that would work with the jail administrator and the frontline workers, find out what they need, and bring us a recommendation. What we do from here, you know, it's up to you.
Any reason why we couldn't, it seems like we all are interested in bringing in a expert consultant to advise us on the project. Maybe we could decide that today, and then in a couple of weeks, maybe we'd have more data to keep the things moving along, to not hold up Dave and the whole county for that matter. Best people aren't sure that they want to do that.
Yeah,
I'm on board with that.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, we definitely need more information before we move forward.
I'm not going to vote to reserve any money for this without knowing more. That's the way I feel right now.
Is any, well, it's, I guess I would need that in the form of a motion. And are you authorizing money for the consultant, but not for the system? I guess that would be my second question I want to make clear in the motion.
How much money would we be authorizing for?
You have any idea? I mean,
I would, talking to Jeff, and we've done a lot of projects through the years, and listening to how you're doing things and what this has turned into, I mean, I understood what your original directive was, and I know it's changed a little bit. I wouldn't authorize any funding either until you have a concrete number, because I've seen when it's just a flat number, the money might go elsewhere and things get stretched, and I'm not a big fan of that. And, I actually agree with Commissioner Plourd. Whether it's through a vendor or through a consultant, and who knows what a consultant would be to come in and analyze and talk to Jeff and say, what features do you want? I wouldn't know what the fee is, but maybe if you can authorize, hiring a firm to work with us to make sure we're getting everything out of the system that we've had in the past or that we want in the future. A lot of times Jeff goes to trade shows or vendor shows at different parts of the country, and you see what the offerings are because technology is improving. And that's where we've run off with a lot of ideas when our system needs upgrades as it is in the past, whether it was like the body scanner a couple of years ago or different things available in the field. I can't guess at what a consultant fee would come in and say, any different than dealing with different vendors to say, what's your product? And then figuring out what we want for features there. But a consultant, like we've used with other things that specialize in that.
I can make that contact before you get back to you on what that fee would be.
And then once we get the fee, bring it back. And I would suggest, so we don't have any more confusion, maybe not putting it on the agenda till we're ready to have something. I've kind of like let Jeff and Dave figure things out, because some things were taken out of order. We got the directive, but David already started the process. They kind of got on the same page from there, but clearly not ready to have any amounts approved this evening.
okay.
I'd like to make a motion for Mr. Shu to reach out and get a consultant to look over what's gonna be needed.
I second that motion.
Would you remake that in the microphone? Sometimes we've been having trouble.
I'd like to make a motion for Mr. What's your full name, Jeff?
Jeffrey
Shute, to proceed with a consultant to get a game plan going forward on what is fully needed at the jail.
Commissioner Kelly seconds that.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been not good about making sure Sandy knows who's, and the motion was made by Commissioner Ames. Any other questions or,
Yeah, I have a question.
go right ahead.
Do we know anybody who has shopped around in Maine, or someone that you may know that has equipment that is fairly recent, that you may be able to say, where did you get it? Did you have a consultant? How much, how do you like it?
This would be like the third or fourth control board we actually go through in our career. This one was somewhat replaced back in 2015. It wasn't replaced correctly, half of it was replaced this.
Oh, so it's fairly recent, all right.
Yeah, and we lost some functions, and we want to correct that. But part of this is the ergonomics of the control room. Things have changed. It's a poor setup now for the employees. It's an undesirable situation. So we're looking at not only the mechanics of the system, but also the opportunity to correct the room, maximize the space, and the ergonomic issues, so we don't have workman's comp. Technology changed. We have more cameras in there now. Features are different. So we're hoping to revamp the whole thing, because staying power.
Yeah, we redesigned the whole space, right from bare bones, starting out. The technology has changed. Some jails have done control boards recently, but I would want someone to come and look at our space and make it work.
All right.
There's only like 3 jails in Maine that are similar to ours. And ours is probably in the best shape.
I guess I'm not dead set against a vendor. I just, some vendors are coming in selling their product where a consultant might know what all the different products are out there.
They'll look at a consultant. It's just, we have no, he's saying $2,500. I know from the last consultant, it's a guess, so why don't we find a consultant and bring back a figure? And then once we get what we want out of systems, we can bring back that figure. That way you're not throwing too much money at something, or maybe not enough.
Yes, Commissioner Boyd.
My question is, you said you replaced some of the system in 2015. What was the way that we approached that purchase? Did we work with a salesman, or did we work with a consultant? Or how did that?
I came in this position in 2015, Jeff can speak.
We went to the manufacturer of the system at the time and asked for some PC towers. We had some money left over that we were going to put in the system. And sold to us as a plug and play, which wasn't a plug and play, it was a plug and caused a problem, so.
Technology and match.
So it was a vendor at that
Well,
point?
a
Okay.
vendor. It wasn't an upgrade, we just changed from Windows 7 to Windows 10. And the same package was rolled over. We changed one piece of hardware in the background because the new computer was talking too fast to my hardware. So that
Right,
reminds-
but how we chose to
We had no
hire
choice
this
but
company?
to go with the vendor, the manufacturer that we currently had.
Okay,
We
so,
didn't change softwares, we changed hardware.
Approach now.
okay.
Good question.
This would be the right approach.
Now we're talking about just revamping everything so that when we get to the end,
You're talking the system and the
a
actual.
capital improvement, I mean, a major capital improvement for,
And that room was designed in 1990, and back then it was all push button, and it's big tablets, and now we're talking TVs that are touch screens, so it's how it operates is a little bit different.
you and then you.
What's the average, do we know a life expectancy of a system when it's new? What was that,
About 10 years.
10 years?
Ooh.
Old technology.
Oh, that surprises me.
I'm not shocked by that.
10 years.
Wow.
24 hours a day, and they control everything. It's well used.
Now, people often get more time out of those systems, but expectancy of those.
Wow.
Surprised that it's 10 years.
Commissioner Mason?
Is this, I kind of feel like, and I'm sorry, I know this is an extension from, the last meeting that we had, I was out of town for work. But, I mean, I kind of feel like we're going into like RFP territory with this whole thing. Has that been discussed?
We're not there yet. I mean, that's what Dave was saying. I think it was Dave that said something about going up to bid. Somebody said it anyway. So but a lot of times what you find when everybody offers something different, and sometimes the package ends up being exclusive to a vendor, but you put it out there, and whoever can match it and come within what you're willing to spend is kind of who you go with.
Right.
So yes, you're right, it will go there eventually, but you've got to start someplace. Because there might be technology or things out there that we're not aware of. Like with Dave and the boilers, how they're these small things now compared to the size of a Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I'm a little behind on this, just,
Explain to us, what's your concern?
well, we're like talking about hiring consultants and all that, which I think is definitely the right approach, and I'm totally supportive of, but when I hear like 10 years and like, different system and all that, it's like, man alive, that's a big project.
Well, in the original control board, the company that put it in when the jail was built, they were here all the time, always servicing it. I mean, they weren't very good at it, but they were here all the time. You remember that, this guy from somewhere up in northern Maine was here working on our board. It never worked right. I mean, it's always been, and that was when you'd push 2 different buttons to open doors and.
Soldering switches.
Yeah, in these little round pegs in there, whatever.
No, I'm supportive of the motion, I just needed a little bit of,
And what I brought up at the last meeting, a couple of you weren't here, is when we were having our union discussions, when it was all done, I sort of just started talking to them, asking what would make their job easier. Boy, this came up right away, that this is a problem in corrections. And it's actually by spending ARPA funds on it, it's going to be at some point, we're going to have to budget it. And anything we can do to take a big ticket item like this off of future budgets instead of raising it through taxation and take care of it with ARPA, will save everyone in the community and their levies, so.
great.
Okay. I think we had a motion and a second. I do not believe we voted yet, did we?
No.
Okay, so all those in favor of authorizing the jail administrator to reach out to a consultant and bring us back a recommendation? Okay, and that is 7-0. Okay, the EMA vehicle, I can take that, or I'll take that. I think it was Commissioner Ames, I think it was you wanted me to ask the EMA director about the pickup. Had some questions about what she was going to use it for, and then I sent to you a picture. She had found a used vehicle, and since that time, that has sold. So there's nothing, I know, nothing there to talk about, so. Yeah, that would have been a big savings. So, okay, other ARPA funding, administrator, any commissioners?
Nothing at this time.
I'm on board with rolling, getting an
So we
account of where we're
take a
at.
step back.
Okay, great. All right, let's move on to Sheriff's Department ammunition bid, and I believe that is in your packet.
There he is. Good evening. I followed up with the vendor that won the bid that, I think it was your February 16th meeting. And after sending him a couple emails, phone calls, called him last week to inquire about additional information, ammunition, and he informed me that he misunderstood. He thought he was buying ammunition from us, not us buying from him. So apparently sent him a purchase order and other communication wasn't enough of a red flag. So my recommendation would be to bring it back to you folks to award it to Eagle Point, and we're looking at paring it down so we'll be within budget.
I read your letter in a little disbelief, well, the sheriff's letter. Can you explain to me how you put that out so that,
RFP that we've used pretty much every year, except we change what we're
Okay.
asking for. His claim was that other departments are selling 45 and 223 ammo, which is very common, and he's buying it from police agencies. Doesn't make sense to me, especially in the shortage. Correct. I question whether he just underbid it so much that he knew he was gonna lose. So, I mean, because when the bids came in, I reached out to him with a copy of his bid, saying, hey, I got your bid, looks like you're the winning bid. You all set with this? I'll come and pick it up from you when it comes in. Sent them the purchase order, and there was never any type of communication of saying, hey, well, this is wrong. So,
there was a written RFP that went
Yes.
out? I just.
yep. Again, if it's too good to be true, apparently it is, so.
My guess is next
You
time
were
he won't
wanting
be
to
on
buy
the
3 or 4
bidding.
years
wanted
worth
in
of
on it.
that price.
It says purchase on the first sentence.
It was
Yes.
so, it was so
I mean, I
unbelievable
don't know
to
how
me.
to.
I know.
It's not like you had to read you didn't use bold print on that word, but I don't know if you
So I'll
need.
highlight it in very large letters, so.
Commissioner Ames.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Eagle Point Gun of Thoroughfare, New Jersey bid for $10,448.94.
Second.
And seconded by, was that Commissioner Mason? Seconded by Commissioner Mason. Any other questions?
I don't even want to say about it anymore.
Just shocked.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that is 7-0.
Thanks for at least trying to get
Thank
other
you.
bids. I mean, you tried.
Well, the discrepancy is
We don't want to see you back next meeting, though, with the price going up.
Okay, the next item, and I'll pass these out, is just a matter of formality. The attorney needed the board. And this is, whereas on February 16, 2022, the County Commissioners of Androscoggin County, Maine, voted to enter into purchase and sale contract with the owners of record for the purchase of properties located at 774 Center Street, 786 Center Street, and 40 Niskaywana Street. 16 Malibu Drive, 32 Malibu Drive, 40 Malibu Drive, and 20 Niskayuna Street. I know I'm messing, is that even close? Okay. And 1079 Turner Street, Auburn, for the negotiated price. And whereas that the closing of the contract will occur on or before March 30th, 2022, and whereas the county commissioners desire to authorize certain individuals to act on behalf of the county, Androscoggin County, to sign and deliver all necessary required documents for closing. Now therefore be it resolved that the Androscoggin County Commissioners hereby authorize Eric G. Sampson in his capacity as sheriff, Sally A. Christner in her capacity as County Commission Chair, and hereby authorize acting jointly or individually to execute, acknowledge, and deliver any and all documents on behalf of Androscoggin County which are necessary and appropriate to purchase the property and settle the transaction contemplated under the contract. And all that's just to say is this is just a formality saying that you are authorizing two people to sign the final documents. It's similar to the one that we had before with the purchase and sale. Commissioner Ames.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing representatives to execute closing documents on behalf of Androscoggin County.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Ames.
By Commissioner Kelly.
Commissioner Kelly, yes.
Do we know the principals behind these two corporations?
It's the Subaru dealer in Auburn.
No, the actual names of individuals.
Yes, there's one individual. Go with Doug.
Weiss is his name.
Weiss.
And our attorney last week straightened out all the financial lien, all that stuff, because we obviously hired an attorney for the transaction to represent us. So all the i's have been dotted, t's have been crossed. But his name, the owner of all the corporations, is Doug Weiss. He is local,
Correct?
Yes.
Local individual?
enough where I've met him a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Did you get your?
Yeah, I'm fine.
So, we know the city of Auburn has had one, not hearing, but where do we stand with the city of Auburn? Before we go? I'm sorry, but I missed
No,
meetings
it's
and I don't know where we are with
The
the
way
city
I
of Auburn.
understand, we are under a moratorium that and so the day that we sign papers, our hope was because it's spring, water's going to start coming in, the guys could take their computers and head out that afternoon. And Mr. Weiss was actually leaving desk and things there
Actually,
to make it so that they could.
Some of it, some of it was discussed with attorneys and representatives from the county as well as the city of Auburn. As far as the property, after the initial walkthrough, they asked if there's anything in there we'd like to keep, and I said, we don't want to buy anything, but if you're willing to leave all the office furnishings, we'll take them. That way we wouldn't have to move the junk in the basement up there, and we'd be able to occupy the place pretty quickly. It would give us because we'll still have to operate out of the basement till there's renovations done, obviously, like the evidence room, things of that nature, but it'll give them a place for report writing. So everything is in there, all the office furnishings, so we could operate, but as far as the city of Auburn goes, the moratorium's in place. We've met with city leadership and their attorneys about what their thinking is. And we made it perfectly clear at the time that it was the county's intention to move forward with the purchase. And they knew our cutoff date, and they came to our last meeting. I don't know if you were here. There was no motion to reconsider, so that now they know it was cemented moving forward, and the closing date is being worked on now.
Okay, I guess I read in the paper they had one meeting, they voted on the moratorium, and they had to vote a second time, and I guess has the second vote been taken by the city of Auburn?
The moratorium's in place, and it was explained what that means, what has to be done during the time of the moratorium, and why it's in place. There was some confusion initially over a detention facility. I think they reacted quickly. Right now, we're working with Harriman to go on the next phase of designing the site. And what it is we'll review it as far as flowing, the flow of it. there's a name they use for it. And we've instructed Harriman, like I offered to the city of Auburn the night they passed the moratorium, that Harriman and Associates representatives for us look forward to working with them to absolve any of their concerns. That offer's still out there, and when I talked to Harriman, I was like, reach out to the city of Auburn like you normally would. If, if you're prohibited due to the moratorium, you know, we're gonna give it our best shot moving forward. We had the agreed upon contract with Harriman to finish anyway, so it made sense to move forward, so that way Auburn will have available to them any and all information we can possibly produce at this time for their consideration to feel comfortable with our use moving forward.
So is the moratorium specifically regarding the jail or regarding the sheriff's department itself?
What was approached to me the Thursday morning following the vote to purchase was they were upset with the loss of property tax revenue. That was a major bone of contention, and they didn't want to see a jail being constructed there. And I advised them that we weren't proposing to construct a jail there, but as the leader of an organization, you have to look out to the future and you have to have options and plans. The purchase would allow us for the land to construct a jail sometime in the future if needed, but also considerations could be made to regional facilities with other counties like Sagadaw and Lincoln have done. But you need to have options available. That does provide it, but there's no intention to build a jail anytime in the near future. It's not even on our radar right now.
No, but my question more specifically is the moratorium that we cannot move the sheriff department there patrol? Or is it the moratorium specifically about the jail?
What was explained to me in our meeting.
What did the city of Auburn vote on? I don't want to know what
They
was
voted-
explained to you. I want to know what was voted on.
They voted on a
So it's
moratorium not to allow a public safety building constructed.
No public safety building, construction.
A public safety building, for the meeting we had, again, these things keep coming up. So in the meeting we had with the attorneys, it was explained to me that we would have interview rooms in the public safety building, because government buildings, and it is the appropriate zoning currently, even though there's a moratorium, we would have interview rooms. And in the interview rooms, we'd interview suspects, possibly detaining them, and they believe that it turns it into a detention facility. A little bit of a stretch, but that was the reasoning that was given to me that day, during that meeting.
So it's possible that even though we have plans to move in, the city of Auburn.
Well, as it stands right now, they can reconsider their moratorium at any time.
Yes.
And we're hoping that once we provide to them more information that Harriman is getting together now, that they'll accept it and take it into consideration. There is the options to have limited use of the property until then, not including some of the dynamics. After what we've been through initially, I'd be a little reluctant to state them now, but there's options to make use of the property, just not to its greatest potential. And maybe that's something we have to consider if we can't make progress on the moratorium, with the city of Auburn on the moratorium.
So on the day of closing, we will not be moving. We've still got to work through some problems with all
Yeah,
that.
I guess that's.
Yes, sir.
I'm a little confused, well, I'm always confused. And I'm even more confused because I just came back from Portland with laser eye surgery, so I'm trying to read at the same time, but this document just authorizes signatories, right? It doesn't, it doesn't execute anything.
The signatures will.
Gives them permission
Yeah,
to execute.
Right,
Signing closing.
as
documents.
opposed to having everyone come to
Right,
closing the sign.
If and when that is possible, right?
No, on our closing day with our purchase and sale, which,
Well, what I'm getting at is, if the city of Auburn, well, the public safety part of the building also involves the addition to the existing building, right?
Eventually, there will need to be an addition placed on the structure, the existing structure, and renovations, so it's suitable. It can be occupied right now, we can use the office space.
Yeah, well,
But, not with the moratorium. And what we initially thought is get an occupancy permit to have the guys move out of the basement and operate out of there and still make use of the basement. That's gonna be put on hold, obviously. We can use the garage, for now, but
so after the moratorium, what if it's decided that they won't give you an occupancy permit?
there's a couple of different options.
So where does that leave this document?
Well, this is,
Ju-
all this
just-
document is saying that on closing day, which is next Friday, that the board is authorizing these signatures on behalf of the board.
Well, how can we be closing? How can we be closing on something we may not be able to use? I just don't get it.
That's because we voted on it prior.
We voted on a purchase and sales agreement.
We voted to buy. We were past our contract date to back out of this, Ed.
I realize that, and I'm not even gonna go there. All right.
You have any more questions? I mean, I'd be happy to discuss with any of you at any time, any of the issues or discussions we've had. You know, they've been cordial. It's just working through the problems, and we hope when I last met with Harriman a week or two ago to discuss the next phase of the project, we'd hope the information that they're gonna provide to us, we could provide to the city of Auburn so they could actually see what our intentions are, because I think there was some confusion in the community. To those that attended the meeting at City Hall that night, they saw me get hollered at in the hallway about building a jail, and I had to say I wasn't building a jail, and, well, why are people saying you're building a jail? I said, I don't know. It's not part of the consideration at this time. But again, you have to look out for the future of the organization. The land is there, that there could be a jail there someday, but there might never be.
One more question.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm looking at future liability here. What if we don't get an occupancy permit? What if it's decided that this is a public safety thing, the city doesn't want it there, you can't have it, and we've already bought it?
We have to go to court.
Or resell it.
Yeah, I would think at that point, we'd probably bring our attorney in here and get
Yep.
our options.
So that's the
and
worst-case scenario.
That's worst-case scenario.
So as far as our liability is concerned, there is none. It's just a matter of hoping for the best or recouping our investment. Okay.
Signatures. Yes, I think probably best to have a vote on record.
I'm okay with this, authorizing these two
I know.
people. I'm not okay with the purchase, but that's not what this vote is about.
This vote very clean to this so that those two issues don't get confused. Thank you, Roland. Commissioner Mason.
Something
Yeah.
before we do this. This is not a problem. This is just the authority that you and the sheriff need to sign a closing document. That's fine. I think in regards to your concerns about the building, obviously very valid. This is gonna be a long road for, with the city of Auburn to figure this out. I just want everybody to keep in mind that this is a saleable asset, and that's something that we talked about. It is a valuable asset, and we're fortunate to be able to pursue this path. So I think we need to do exactly what we had said we were going to do and pursue this path. And hopefully, cool heads will prevail on all sides, and we can get something together that works for the county and for all of the towns that are represented there. Because I don't care what town you live in, the sheriff's office serves you in this county. So I think that we need to go down the road, and you know what? If cooler heads don't prevail and we have to do something, we do have an asset that we can sell and that we can make best use of if that doesn't work out. So I think another step in the process.
Okay, well, let's get a second, then I'll open it up for any other comments.
I think I already seconded it.
You had one.
Yeah, I seconded it.
All right. Commissioner Ames, second, and Commissioner Poirier made the motion just on the signature document. Is
No, I
that
made
right?
the motion.
Oh, okay,
Commissioner Ames and
okay. I guess,
and
all
I
right.
seconded.
Okay, thank you, Terry.
No, it
And
was
Commissioner
yours.
Kelly.
I don't have a-
So
well, no,
let me reiterate that Commissioner Ames made the motion, Commissioner Kelly seconded. When you were talking, I wrote your initials down. Forgive me. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That is 7-0. Okay, back to our agenda. Administrator, are you going to speak about that, or?
This was presented to you at the last meeting, and it's a simple, it's actually one of the requirements. And it's also, it's very similar to what's already there in the charter. So, yes.
I was wondering what precipitated this, and
Required as part of the documentation for the,
I see, okay, all right.
You say this is an ARPA thing, right? They require it?
yeah. And even though we already have it somewhere else,
They still, I get it, they require their own.
Yeah,
Do
one
we
of the
need to
items.
read it, or?
Right.
no,
Read out loud, or if we could just
no.
vote
no,
on it?
just-
Yeah, it's actually part of the ARPA documents too, so.
One of the items on the checklist that we discussed a
Somebody
few
else
meetings
want to
ago.
take this one?
Yeah, do I hear a motion pertaining to the conflict of interest policy?
Whole thing have to be read?
To adopt the policy. Well, I thought we needed to. We need a motion. We need a motion to adopt.
They won't penalize us for adopting it if we don't need to. We just do it.
Well, we can, but I don't see a need to.
Oh, I was just doing it because last time Clary said we'd have to vote on it at the next meeting.
That's what I understood too.
Okay.
I get in trouble
But
with
if I
Clarice.
misunderstood, I will gladly retract my motion.
I liked your motion.
We'll give it to Terry, she'll be in jail, she'll be
I'm
in
not looking to create grief.
Commissioner, am I right this time, or did I jump the gun on you again?
I
Commissioner
actually said
Poirier,
it.
motion, okay.
So does the whole thing need to be read?
I don't
think so.
believe so, because it's actually part of the ARPA documents, isn't it?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve a conflict of interest policy for federal grants and contracts as written.
And would you be willing to change that to a second? Because Commissioner
Oh,
Poirier
I
has the
second that motion. Okay. I second.
Man, we're on fire.
Get motions, sometimes I get too many, so that's how we go. And all those,
All right, who made the motion?
Commissioner Poirier made the motion, and Commissioner Kelly made the second. And all those in favor? That is 7-0. And I will just, I had asked for this to be on the agenda. I'll tell you where this all came from. But I don't make motions, so it would have to be up to another commissioner. And this also came out of the discussion that I had after the union, when I was asking things that we could do to make their job easier, things that we could do to make their life less frustrating. And this was one of the ideas that came up. I thought this was a very easy fix. They're already, but the corrections is already budgeted for a maintenance person. Just let that it's a big facility over there. Let that person be designated just for that facility where they're paying for it. I did run it past the jail administrator and then found out that it was not an original idea, that he had actually asked for it several times. And in fact, cited in our that it was something that was needed. So I thought it had a good idea. It was an old idea that's already been out there. So because of that, I wanted to put this on the agenda. Some things that I had suggested to go with it at the last meeting was that for this budget period, because the facility manager already has his budget and already has his plans, is that we don't pull that money from his budget. I don't think that's fair this late in the game. But for the rest of this, this budget year, that we use one of those positions that ARPA makes available. I hesitate to do that because I don't want to add things to the budget that are going to expand the budget past ARPA. However, then at the next budget year, then the facilities manager will know that that money that corrections already puts in their budget will still be there, and he can better plan for that. Something else that has come up in this discussion is that this designated person would also be a corrections officer. And so that way he could help fill in spots, if needed. And he can then work in the corrections facility unchaperoned, I don't think you call it chaperoned, what is the word? Escorted, thank you. Something else in setting it up, that he would answer directly to the jail administrator or the jail administrator's designee. If there may come times that the facility manager needs an extra set of hands carrying something, or that the designated maintenance person needs an extra set of hands, that can all be facilitated between the jail administrator and the facility manager. So that is a little more in detail from what I suggested that be put on the agenda. And then I believe you also have a letter from the administrator that just came tonight, so I haven't had a chance to review it all, but you can go ahead and present what you feel are some of the insights.
At this point, I think there are a whole lot of questions that need to be answered and worked out before we go that route. And again, you have some of my comments, but I guess I would ask that we come back and revisit this in a couple of 3 months and look at it at that point, as opposed to rushing into it. Because there, and again, you have a number of issues that, if you segregate one to the jail, how is that one person going to have all of the qualifications and skills that the current 4 people have to do various things? And there are a number of things that need to be looked at. So I would ask that you hold off. That's all.
What would the dollar amount be? What are we looking at as far as that's concerned?
Mr. Shute, I would,
$55,000 is jail budget every year.
Okay.
Just put it to the county coffers.
Okay.
would that, and in years future, would that be sufficient for somebody who's cross-trained?
I'd have to get with Clarice, but I believe it'd be pretty close, yes.
Commissioner Poirier?
I'm confused. Okay. We have 55,000 that's in the budget for 2022? Yes. Or what year are we talking about here where the 55,000 is currently located in?
The jail every year designates $55,000 out of our budget to pay for maintenance services. So the money's already being budgeted for and paid
Okay, so you
for.
budget, and he becomes a sub-fund. Okay.
Fiscal year, it'll be the counties on a calendar year. So I think that's where.
But you're moving your 55,000 over to Dave throughout the year.
Yeah.
Don't have a person within your staff. You're using a service, the service being our maintenance department here.
Correct.
Okay.
And Commissioner Chris is right. It's something I've tried at a couple different occasions, and I think it's not a problem that's insurmountable. I think it's pretty doable, and I think it would really give the jail an advantage of able to take care of a lot of the things that you're hearing at the union negotiations can be taken care of in a timely fashion.
Anyone else? Yes.
Well, I think we need to listen to the administrator's letter. He's brought up some valid points that he's concerned about. I would like to see those addressed before we make a decision. I mean, I don't think this is something, I don't see an immediate need to make a decision this evening, I guess, is what I'm understanding. I mean, we've been working with this for several years. Apparently, there was a problem regarding the heating system. I'm not sure if it's the pandemic and supplies and all that. I know people have gotten short fused with, in that environment. I guess we've been doing this for several years now. They put it in their budget. They use the service of our county maintenance department to take care of things. We've run into what I've can see is I don't want to say a bump in the road, but we've run into some perhaps miscommunication problems. But before we move to create a new position within the jail department, I would like to have a little more information, give the administrator time to gather his 87 questions that he feels. He's very specific on his number, so I'm not sure where he's getting that number.
That's a $64,000 question.
Actually, the heating system never came up with their complaints. It was things like light bulbs that don't get changed, and they just, small jobs that they felt like they could just, if they had their person, they could get done. But we'll do whichever, however the board wants to do it. Could you compile a list of very specific questions?
I had done a very detailed proposal and submitted it about 6-8 months ago. So if you'd like, I can share that with you folks.
That would be much appreciated.
It talks about
Right.
the benefits of this, and how I could work through it. So I could forward that to you. I already have it prepared.
Can you just put it on an email so we don't,
Yes, sir, I can.
to reduce the paper we have?
You can send me a hard copy. I'm not like you. I need to see a hard
Hard
copy. It
copies and
sounds like you
emails
got a
all
long
around.
report, and I don't like to look at a screen with
The
multiple.
emails, all of
I'd
that.
one.
Thank you, yes.
Sorry.
And could
We'll
you,
have to
could
charge
you
you.
get together
have to
some of your
charge you
questions
for
so
it,
that we
that's
can
all.
see if we can get them resolved or see if they're unresolvable?
I'm sorry, you're talking to me?
Yes.
Well, there are a whole host of things that, as I've spoken, or as I reiterated in the memo, part of the problem comes in miscommunication where, for example, facilities director was accused of not fixing the heating controls that was budgeted in 2019, when in fact they were budgeted in 2021. That, that creates some issues on both sides of the fence. And so those things, and again, a lot of it's communication on both sides. And so there's some work that needs to be done. At this point, I think a lot of the work that needs to be done in-house with current staff we have. You have a real problem if you engage somebody in the jail, you take the money that is going to from the jail over to the county for the facilities department away. But I will tell you that they're gonna have to use the facilities department for much more time than you would think, because you're not going to hire somebody that has all of the skills that our four people have. Anything from certain computer components or different things to, plumbing, you name it, they can do it. And if one can't, another one can, and you're not going to find one person with all of those skills. And so you're going to end up with a hybrid kind of a thing, and nobody's going to know who's responsible for what and who. And then when you have the jail in control of the person, of the maintenance person in the jail, who may or may not have all of, the skills that you need for particular jobs, and then you have to reach out to the facilities which hasn't been involved, and you have two separate entities trying to do this, complete a job. There are some serious issues, I think, that I'm not sure that can be addressed, but if you would give me a couple, 3 months to try to work things out, and we'll go from there.
Let me
Other
add,
than that-
and if any of you know this that have been in the industry or the agency a while, is this an outlying idea? I mean, do other counties have their own maintenance personnel, or is that something we don't really know?
Through the state inspection process, we know there's at least one other county that does it. And if you remember, when you refer to what brought it up as part of negotiation was the prioritization of tasks. So it's nothing against the maintenance staff that's here now. The issue is, you heard the long list of things for the union, and I guess I'll speak for the union here. There's a long list of routine things that don't get done. So if you remember when the conversation went on, there was a break, and then about 5 minutes later, the union member stated, well, I guess if they did answer to us or to the lieutenant, the captain or the major, our priorities would be dealt with rather than cast aside. And it was the menial, it was routine maintenance. Light bulbs was a perfect example because we have a shift supervisor that generally changes them. But it wasn't a knock on the staff, it was the assignment of tasks and the constant trying to get that issue addressed. So I understand, waiting for 3 months to evaluate and see if we can address these issues. It's just been largely delayed in the past. So it's been done. The theory was during state inspections that we might get better results addressing some of the issues or not waiting to the last minute. It creates a stressor for the correctional staff when certain things aren't available that should be or dealt with. We've always worked, there's a long history of working with whoever was in charge of maintenance. It just seems to have escaped us over the past few years. And it's been concerning. So I think that's why Major Shute actually pushed for the idea, and I warned him when he first brought it up a couple of years ago of some of the consequences. You have maintenance under you, and you're responsible for a maintenance employee. That's going to be yours to deal with. It's more work. But I think the end result is maybe the production that comes with it for staff purposes. The little things mean a lot to the staff. And in a corrections environment, some of these little things are very important. And we understand there's bigger things involved too when it comes to the plumbing, the heating, and other things like that. But the hope would be that whoever we would hire could work in concert with maintenance, but we could have somebody routinely available, I believe is the intent, to handle the normal things that it's a 24-hour congregate housing facility. A lot of things happen.
Oh, and I want to be really clear, our facilities department is stretched thin. We have an aging building here, and some of the new commissioners probably know, but to remind you, they have 2 buildings on the other side of the river that they maintain. And so they're stretched they have a lot on their plate, and it just seems like I thought, just listening to employees talk, that it would solve problems and take pressure off of everything if the correctional department could just have somebody that's just working on all of these issues and go right ahead. Commissioner Ames, I know you've been waiting and waving.
No, I wasn't, you wanted to talk, and I just wanted, she's looking this way.
How long ago did you send? How long ago did you send that out? I'm not willing to wait another 3 months. I would like to get that from you, and I would like to address this at our next meeting. I think it's clear that there's been an ongoing delay here, so I'm not gonna stretch it out another 3 months to get back to this. I'm not making a motion tonight to gather the information and look at it, but I'm not gonna wait 3 months. I just want everybody to know that.
We've been warned. Commissioner Worth.
I am surprised that there are issues that have gone on that were those issues made known way back when, and they were not rectified for whatever reason. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. My proposal is spun in a positive light, though. It's recognizing that David is responsible for an entire complex. He's got a lot on his plate. That by having someone to do our day-to-day, it might help everyone work together. But to answer your question, yes.
Okay, there is a detailed, I assume, job description for this position. Now, you have on record, do you have a detailed job description for your job? I want to see that. I want to see both job descriptions, the proposed job description and the existing job description before we.
He's a supervisor, you may want one of his
Can
employees.
I have a say on this real quick, since I'm the facility director? So some of the reasons that, so like 2 years ago, I asked for another position. You authorized me to hire a fourth person. It took us 6 to 8 months to find that one person. It takes 6 to 8 months to train that person in everything in the jail. And that's training through multiple staff members, tag teaming, shadowing, doing as much immersion training as possible. Since that time, Matt is now up to par, my new person. And come December, one of my staff members retired. So we've been trying since December to hire a new person. The time before that took 6 months plus, 6 months to hire him. It takes a long time to find someone that wants to work in the county for the pay and the benefits. They don't want to be on call. They want to come in 2 in the morning to do plug your toilet. It's hard to get that. By having multiple staff members, we bounce it off each other. So we are on call, kinda. We say, hey, I'm going away this weekend, can you cover? Sure. And we are unofficially on call. It takes 2 people to hang a shower curtain. One person will hold it up, the other person folds it in. One person can't do it. The light bulbs, I understand the concerns, but the law problem is something else is more important than one light bulb in a fixture. So yes, we do put it in the back burner. When we do 4 or 5 bulbs, we'll do that one at the same time, when we gear up to do it. If it's a maximum security gets done over any other position because of what it is. Whether it's a night light, a single bulb, a lock, doesn't matter. Maximum always comes first.
Okay, hold on. I see 2 issues here. I see an issue for adding a net position because of need, and then I see another issue separating jail maintenance with county building maintenance. The 2 issues. So what do we want? What do we want? Which one is more important?
I don't want to get the he said, she said thing, but what Mr. Cody just said proves my point. He'll decide which light bulbs get done first or which lofts get done first. Every light bulb in every cell that's dark is important. We should be deciding that.
This will also get worse once we move to the new facility.
Yeah, you'll have another facility.
I just want to throw that out at you if you want to.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
No, all those light bulbs work over there. I checked them out.
Assuming we have occupancy permits, we will have a
Commissioner Kelly.
My thought is this, how, an individual who's in charge of maintenance for this entire facility, for just the jail, it requires a great deal of knowledge, knowledge of code, knowledge of, electrical systems, knowledge of general, contractor, business, building and repairing. And how difficult will it be to find that person who is also a corrections officer? That's my thought.
That's a good,
That could be an issue, and you might have to change the plan.
yeah, that's a good point.
Jeff thinks it's an attainable thing. I don't think a full-fledged, you'd have problems, but training somebody to get the basics might be realistic.
We want the basics in CPR and self-defense, as
So you
much
don't-
training as you give somebody.
Yeah, but you don't have to have another position title tacked onto this job, because that entails other duties, because he's got the title. So then, you're opening up the can of worms here. All right.
I mean, maintenance in itself is, all-encompassing and, time-consuming enough, on top of being a corrections officer, They're both.
Larry, you said something about IT at one point, about computers. So I guess I just have to understand. Is the IT department under your?
Once upon a time it was, and IT is an industry in itself. So
Right,
when
I
my
know that.
When my technician quit, I went to Larry pushing for an IT director to take over that role. And I tag team with him on a lot of stuff, but he's the primary.
So Doug runs his own department.
Doug runs his own department, but Dave assists, and for example, Dave was in the jail today, or Chris was, I think, running wires and doing things to get some computers back up that was going down. And so it's a tag team.
But that's not part of the maintenance department.
Well,
I guess I'm trying to understand.
they do it because that's part of what they do. I mean, they fix what needs fixing.
I mean, you can't let things fail, so we step up and we fix whatever needs to be fixed, whether it's our job or not.
It's called cooperative work.
Commissioner Mason?
So I like where Brian's headed, like this is we need to like make this decision. So I'm wondering, is there any way that we can get like some sort of like flow chart? Like I'm new here, so, and I know that excuse is running out, but,
We got time.
okay, good. Yes, I'd like to form a committee. No, I don't. But can I get a little bit more information on your department and like how many, like what people do? I'm sure that there's job descriptions for your job and for all the other ones as well. And the potential job description for this possible new position, because I would like, and if it could be done sooner rather than later, so I have time to digest it before the next meeting, that would be very important for me. So that we can kind of look at this and figure this out. Obviously, major communication issues here, obviously. So we need to get that sorted out. So, Larry, if we can just get as many of the questions written down, so that I can look at those and we can figure out what they need to be addressed. I think that'll help us immensely in making those decisions. So, thank you.
Well, I mean, I asked for it earlier. Do we need a motion to get job descriptions?
No, I don't think so.
think we
No,
just-
no, just a directive is good.
Okay.
We made our request.
Are we all, everybody set with
Yes.
their piece of the puzzle?
Yep, good.
Thank you for coming, yeah. Okay. Is there anything else before we go into discussion items?
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session
I don't see how.
under Title MRSA, Section 405-6, regarding discussion of personnel issues.
I'll second it.
What was that?
He wants to enter executive session.
I don't see an executive session
No,
on my
it's,
agenda.
no, but with a,
I'm
it
asking.
will take, a,
Okay, I see what you mean.
He'll have to vote.
fifth vote, we can do that off the, yeah, no, it's,
What did the title, we kind of all snapped it
I think it's
too.
4/5, isn't it?
Did I read that right? Because I know we got in trouble before.
Fifths of 7 people is,
You're good.
yeah, we're all set, as far as
You
I'm.
gotta give a reason. You gotta
It's,
give a
I think
reason.
it's, I
It
think.
used to be no
the-
reason.
If I
They would go
remember
into
right, I
executive
think,
session without
I'm
a
not sure, I
reason.
think
They
it
said,
says
wait a
it has to
minute.
be a 4/5 vote, which, that's what I'm saying, I don't know what 4/5 of
Legally, you
7
need a
people is,
reason to
but
go.
we'll just. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Can you repeat the motion?
He would
I
like
didn't-
to go into an executive session for a personnel issue. even
No, he
though-
wants it on the agenda next time.
No, he wants to enter it now.
No, he wants to enter it now, that's, yeah, that's
Because
why
it's
it
a
needs
personnel
more
issue,
than
I'd like to
if he's
deal
going
with
to do that, he needs more than just a simple majority. He needs
Can we do that even though it's not on the agenda, though?
as long as we
Yeah,
have a
yeah, 4/5.
supermajority.
Does it require an advance notice to be an agenda item?
Nope.
No, what it's,
Yes,
I guess I can
unless you
look,
get
but I think
4/5
it's,
vote.
it takes a 4/5 vote, and you can add
But
something
he'd
like
like to
that to
vote
the
into
agenda.
it to enter it now.
And so it's going to depend on how many people would like to do that, and that is for a personnel issue, is that right?
Correct.
That's what you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Discussion of personnel issues.
Okay, all of those in favor? Well, I guess, I don't know what 4/5 of 7 is, but 7 will work. All right, and let's go into executive session.
Wait a minute.
Comment that you're not gonna make any voting.
Oh,
Afterwards, I don't know, Mr. Poirier, will there be a vote?
there will not be a vote from this discussion, but I don't know about items 10 and 11.
Discussion
on-
items,
on the
future agenda.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Because I don't know what other people are
I'll just
thinking.
take notes.
There won't be any, I mean, we don't vote on future agenda items, we just suggest them. I put them, if you suggest them,
Yeah, we've got no.
we try to put them
Okay, I
on.
mean, we're not voting on anything.
No,
We're
not
just
after
gonna
this.
put things on the agenda in the future.
More votes.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Okay.
Bye, Clarice.
Oh, get better.
We missed you.